Hey guys, Nicole here from Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to use a PVC incubator for reptiles. So let's get started. Okay guys, for this one we're going to be going over a PVC incubator and everything you need to know about it. We're going to be using my spare one right now. This was actually the first one we ever built here and tested, and we have done a few clutches in here that all worked really well. So it's a lot smaller than the average one that I use, and it has a little bit different setup inside that what I use now. But this one is empty right now, so I can open it and show you all the stuff on the inside, so I figured we'll just start out with the smaller one. Right here is a 6-bin incubator, and the way I build mine is I put these locks on the outside, and it's real simple. That's what it looks like. We'll do a few different angles and stuff like that, but just so you know, we use 6-quart bins. That's what this is. This can fit quite a few different things. For example, I've fit up to 20 AccuMonitor eggs in here before. You can fit a clutch of 9 ball python eggs, but generally 6 to 8 fit really well. Just want to make sure that none of them are touching the outside. You can use a few different things for the substrate. I like to use vermiculite to break down the different parts for you. Generally we do 3 wide instead of 2 wide like this one was. That way, instead of having the 6-inch heat tape, we can actually do either the 21-inch heat tape, or I can do 6-inch heat tape wrapped all the way around, but it does still get up to temperature just fine with the smaller heat tape on this one. This right here hanging, this is the probe. We just have a smaller thermostat plugged in just because it was everything was for a backup. I didn't have an extra vivarium. I do now, so that's what we will be using if and when we do need to use this. But yeah, this is the heat tape. This is what heats the whole thing. This is the probe, and the very simple way that this works is until this probe right here gets up to temperature, this heat tape will just keep heating. So the reason why I have this probe a little bit more than halfway forward is so that the whole thing will heat. When you get into bigger incubators, like I'll show you mine, it's a little bit loud, but I'll show you a clip of it. There is 2 fans in this one because it's such a large incubator. I made it a little differently. This was one of the first few I made also, so each had its own shelf. It ended up being a lot larger than it needed to be, but again, it was one of the first designs I did. And being so large, I wanted really good airflow. So there's 2 different fans, that's why it's so noisy. But the probe is always a little bit towards the front. You want to put it also towards the middle of the incubator, because that way it's getting a good, if you have way at the top, heat rises, so the bottom of your incubator might be very cold. Vice versa, you put it way too low at the bottom, might be way hotter towards the top of your incubator. So with this setup, again, this one was just a very simple, basic one, just as a first build. We have the probe here, so if you ever get an incubator from us, we leave a hole in the back. That's where this probe will go through. There's all different size, shapes, and style probes. It all depends on which thermostat you buy. Again, I would get a very good thermostat. This one is one of those cheap ones. It came on something I got for free, so I put it on here just to have in case of emergency, because it took a while, but I finally got some more vivariums to come in, so that's what I'll use. The problem a lot of people have is they put the probe too far back, too far forward, or something really small like this, you really don't need a fan. But if it's a larger one, you have the fan, and they're adjustable fans. We use actual incubator fans that can be turned up and turned down. That way the whole thing has airflow and circulation. You want airflow, but you don't want any air getting in. We put this foam around the outside, so that way when you're closing it, these actually ratchet it in, and it makes a complete nice seal. So generally, depending on the species, you're going to open this. I normally wait, and I do it about once a week. I'll pull some out with eggs already in them for you to see, but basically you're going to want to get this, right now everything's dry, you're going to want to get it wet. I showed you guys how to do that in the one video where we pulled the whole clutch of ball python eggs. Basically what you want to do is you want to get this wet until you can pick it up and make a ball, and you can squeeze it and it's going to stay together. Right now it's still powder, but I'll use one that's already set up. And my other one right now, it's full of the ball python eggs. Before you even get any eggs, before you even get that far along, you're still weeks or months away from even getting eggs, the first thing you're going to want to do is go and get a couple of these. all different styles, all different kinds you can purchase, but these specific ones, this one has the temperature and humidity, and they're okay, they're pretty accurate. They're only a couple of dollars at Walmart. And then this one right here, the battery's dead, but it's a Groove. This one actually hooks up to Wi-Fi, and I can leave this inside the incubator, check my phone, and not even have to open the incubator, because every time you open this door, it's going to drop the temperature inside your incubator. And if you're trying to get it started and set up, you don't want to keep opening and closing it. Other nice thing about one of these, I think it was maybe $15, $20 from Amazon, is it tracks the temperature and the fluctuation. So a good thermostat is going to keep it within a couple of degrees. A bad, something like this, the temperature is probably going to go up and down 5-10 degrees, which is not what you want. The lower the fluctuation, the better it's going to be for the babies. So before you even have any eggs, you're going to want to put these inside a bin. So basically, you're going to want something like this. And I'd recommend 2. You can use 2 of the same kind, but I like to do this. And then I turn everything on, and I wait a few hours. Because the first time you ever turn something on, sometimes it takes a while to heat. But I like to, especially with the Groove, I like to turn everything on and then leave it for an entire day. I'll check it on my phone, but I will not open this. Again, the first few hours, the first day, might have a lot of fluctuation. It might take a while to get up to temperature. That heat tape, it's the first time really working, so everything's going to take a while. Leave it in here and wait and see what it is. For example, if I have this thermostat, let's talk about ball pythons. Normally I set my thermostat to 91 or 92 for my larger incubator. The reason I do that is because I have an uneven number of shelves, so it's one higher rather than one lower. So it's a little bit higher than in the middle for my larger incubator. So that way it's set a tiny bit low because the probe is a little bit higher up in the incubator. If you set the thermostat, let's say to 92, inside this bin could say 98 or something crazy. Normally it's warmer inside of these bins than it is in the incubator because it holds heat inside, especially when you have the vermiculite, eggs, water, everything in there holds in the heat better. So the reason why you're going to want to do this is because you are worried about the temperature inside the bin rather than the temperature that is inside the actual incubator itself. The air temperature in here will be different than inside the actual bin. So by putting 2 of these in here, I can track. Normally they'll be within a degree or 2 of each other. You can't ever have too many of these things, but that way you are able to tell what the temperature is inside of the bin. Every species you are going to try to incubate is going to be different. Normally there's a few degrees like within, like let's say ball pythons, you can be way on the cooler end around 80, in the lower 80s all the way up to the very low 90s. I like to keep everything right in the middle, like 88 to 90 is the temperature I like to go for. So whatever species you're going to do, or for example, like if I have ball pythons and bearded dragons, I put the bearded dragons at the bottom of the incubator because they like it a little bit cooler. And it's going to have a few degrees variation. So generally what I like to do is, let's say I know right here in this bin they're at 90 degrees. Leave it alone for a couple of days, stays right around 90. I will write that on the bins. Then I'll move that to the bottom. And let's say after a few days it says 88. 89 down here. I know there's a 2-degree difference between the top and the bottom of my incubator, and that way I know what species to go or how much, because you might have to set this thing to 88, but inside your bins you're reaching 92. So it is a little bit of playing. Everything is going to change based on how hot the room is, what kind of thermostat you're using, if it's the first time, how often you're opening the incubator itself. You have to kind of play around with it. So make sure you have it dialed in perfect way before you even have eggs. Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you have to add an extra fan, or you don't even need a fan. You can turn it up, turn it down. Another tip is if you're having a lot of fluctuation, let's say you have a lower end thermostat or you buy an incubator from wherever and it's fluctuating a lot, especially with the Groove, you can see how much is going up, rising and dipping. Put water in one of your bins, like this one has water. Water stabilizes the temperature. So another trick is, like I always leave a little gap up here. You can stuff a couple of water bottles and just leave them in the incubator. As long as you have your probe in the correct spot and you try to set it up, They're really not that hard to work with when you have them. Just make sure, because normally once you have it set up, I normally preset my thermostats, have everything working and ready. I do that before I even start breeding. I do it again a few weeks before I'm going to get eggs, just to make sure everything's still where it was, and then you're good to go. You can pop everything in there. Okay guys, and that's it for this video on how to use a reptile incubator. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. We're going to be doing videos every Wednesday, so if you haven't already, please subscribe. We'll be doing a bunch more videos. I think next week or the week after is going to be all about racks, which different size you need and what is best for each different size, specifically ball python you have. So keep an eye out for that one, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday.